Oh, another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Hello and welcome to the 2024-25 APTA Tour. We're live from the Fox Chapel Racquet Club in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, bringing you the Steel City Classic with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corient. Tournament support has been provided by the following local sponsors: PNC, PJ Dick Trumbull Lindy Group, Delaney Automotive Group, Xenon Paddle. I'm Steve Sullivan with John Kilmer, bringing you the men's quarterfinal match between Russell Benkaim and Sven Burus and Rafael Coutinho and Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto. John, welcome to the stream.
Steve, good to be here. It'll be fun for all of us to watch some new players in action. So we'll get right to it, introducing these guys. Right now, warming up volleying, we can see Rafael Coutinho in the black with the master paddle, and then his partner Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto with the Xenon in the blue in the backwards hat. We are about to see on the other side in the white hat Sven Burus and Russell Benkaim in the black beanie warming up serves. We got a nice little rainy day in Pittsburgh, so I don't have a feeling, Steve, we're going to be watching any 5-hour matches today like we might have saw last week at Short Hills.
Yeah, really amazing weekend of paddle at Short Hills, and weather paddle's a little bit different. Let's give Mike Yahimski here a little time.
This is a men's quarter-final round match, I think, quarter-final. We'll play best 2 out of 3 sets with tie breaks. Introducing the players to my left, playing the ad court from Norwalk, Connecticut. Deuce court from Norwalk, Connecticut, Rafael Coutinho. And on the ad side from Sands Point, New York, Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto. And to my right, playing on the deuce side from Summit, New Jersey, Russell Benkaim. And on the ad side from Morristown, New Jersey, Sven Burus. Benkaim Burus won the spin, and they will serve.
Yeah, John, you can see a little bit of fog, smoke from the heaters, trying to keep the court dry. It's a rainy, not below freezing temp day in Pittsburgh, but weather paddle's a little bit different. The points tend to be shorter. The matches tend to be a little shorter, trickier play. Yes, we are looking for some high talent, but maybe not a 5-hour match.
And for me, whenever I'm playing in the weather, the biggest thing that it recalibrates for me is what I like to think of as that risk-reward profile, right? When it's on great conditions, lobs are about the safest thing that you can do, very minimal risk. On days like today, all of a sudden, there's definitely more risk giving your opponents more opportunities to hit those aggressive slash overheads that can just do some funky things either off the deck or off the screens when it's raining. So we already are getting a glimpse into how things change a little with Benkaim and Burus winning the toss and electing to serve. Typically not what people do when they win the toss, but on rainy conditions and when you have a serve like Sven's, it can be a real advantage.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the Steel City last year, Benkaim and Humphreys. I think their final was an absolute downpour. So yeah, it is risk reward. I think it's shortening up strokes. It's trying to not create that hydroplane, that spin, but it will be interesting to see. We have Sven Burus serving here.
And for all of you watching at home, if you haven't seen Rafael Coutinho or Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto play before, you are in the same boat as Steve and I. So we're going to break it down together. I've talked to some guys in Pittsburgh who have seen Rafael play, have heard that he has a really great forehand off the deck and will look to roll the deuce player. And we'll see how that's all the scouting that we have so far.
So the court looks pretty dry. Really big spin there from Sven Burus into the, righty sliding slash overhead into the ad court. Looked good. Didn't look incredibly weather enhanced, so to speak, but we're going to be able to pick up on movement, footing, and some sort of skidding of balls. So let's see. It looks pretty true in good condition so far.
And we're already seeing that's a really good example of the Sven Burus aggressive serve that not only comes at you in a hurry in normal conditions, but might just get enough off the deck that makes that return just a little bit more difficult to attack. And as we were talking about a little bit earlier, you want to be able to drive when at all possible from the baseline on days like today. And that Sven Burus serve is just going to make those return drives a little bit more difficult for Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto today.
40-30.
Yeah, nice spot there. 3 drives in a row from Garcia-Nieto, and just trying to find a little bit of a gap down the middle. Well, that's pretty good there.
Burus, they lead 1-0 first set.
Yeah, you can tell that Russell Benkaim was confident in that, considering he just hit a nasty backhand cutter and showed 0 reaction. So, looks like we might have some shot making in store for us today.
And this is Russell Benkaim, right? Unbelievable talent, unbelievable shot making, has some of the best, cutters, that kind of righty to the deuce court side, low slash, just dead shot. What a nice little dig there. So he's got, the talent and the skills. And I think, as he's now in his 3rd year, this might be his 3rd year of paddle, he keeps getting better, right? He's become a top 20-ish level player, plays with a lot of different partners. But he is the guy to watch today if you want to see something a little bit special, unique, trick shots. He's sort of got it all.
And I watched the New Jersey State Classic in December, and I believe the finals were rainy in similar conditions to this. And you would have thought those guys were playing on a clay court. Russell was out there sliding around, so we might pay attention to that too, how he moves on these type of conditions today. And right now we have Rafael Coutinho serving at 30-all, and down 1-0 in the first set of the quarterfinals of the Steel City Classic.
So you can hear, you can tell the footing. The footing is a bit of an issue. I think Rafael, the last 2, sort of lost his front foot as he tried to plant. So yeah, hydroplaning balls, sort of that skidding ball that's really difficult to pick up is one thing, but if these players don't feel comfortable on their feet, this is going to be a challenge to sort of get into points, dig deep. So we'll have to watch that.
Love 15. Love 30.
And after a couple points here, 2 games in, already seeing that it looks like Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto really favors that backhand over on the ad side. There have been a couple times that he could have hit a forehand. We saw him get low and kind of cheat over to that backhand. Definitely looks to be the stroke that he trusts the most.
It's interesting. I'm not yet picking up on the balls hydroplaying as much, but they are absolutely popping off the screens. You've seen it on some of the serves. Just really quick from the back to side screen. Interestingly, Russell Benkaim's going with a push serve. He's got a really heavy spin serve. The other thing that tends to happen in the rain is the ball can get balled really fast, right? So it loses some of its, felt, which gives, there's an example. Sven Burus's ball just propelled, almost accentuates the spin a little bit, it looks like. So, a little bit tricky conditions.
And I've talked to some guys who, when they play in the rain, for whatever reason, sometimes it's their serve.
They lead 3 games to love, first set.
Mike Yahimski doing the assist there, letting us know that Benkaim Burus are up 3-0 in the first set here in the quarterfinals. But sometimes in the rain, the guys just don't quite trust their aggressive serve as much because they don't feel their paddle grips it as well. Now, they'll still hit those cuts from the net where they have a much larger margin for error. But when you have volleys as good as all 4 of these guys have out there on the court, if they don't trust their aggressive serve, they're more than happy. Push it in, make that first volley, and keep playing. Which again, good message to all our club players back home. What's the best serve? One that allows you to make your volley. No need to go for more than you feel comfortable for if you're able to make that first volley.
Love 30.
And so far, Steve, that really seems to be the difference that I'm seeing so far in this match is when they get to the net, Benkaim and Burus are wasting absolutely 0 time going immediately to those aggressive spin overheads that, as you were stating, are just moving quickly through the court and have almost double the action off the screen. Whereas Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto, they're playing a little bit more traditional straight up paddle at the net, hitting push overheads that just aren't maybe taking as much advantage of these rainy conditions.
30.
Yeah, you could even see the last 2 volleys from Russell Benkaim. He got caught with the lead court there, but the prior 2, it's really this kind of like splash sliding volley that really tries to let the ball sort of take advantage of the conditions, right? Look for a little hydroplane, a little bit of skidding. There's another ball that just absolutely accelerates off the deck. So yeah, there's sometimes a little bit of strategy and tactical play that these guys are going to employ, but Russell's clearly, trying to have every ball he hits, take advantage of the conditions.
Ooh, that's just a ginormous forehand out of the corner there. Wow, really good dig there from Sven Burus. Not just to make it, to reset that point with an excellent lob. And there's that slash volley that you're talking about. You're right. We definitely see Russell's willing to up the ante on his average shot because he just feels the risk-reward profile right now is working in his favor.
Yeah, it's almost like a padel volley. That's sort of, I think they call it like a splash, where you're really putting a
4 games to love, first set.
you're really putting a flat paddle against it and just letting the paddle move underneath the ball. So it's really really interesting to see how quickly Russell's changed his technique a little bit to maximize the benefit. Sven Burus to serve. Typically, John, right, they're doing a 7-game switch. Looks like because of the rainy conditions, we talked about how the court can really take the felt off the ball quickly in the rain. Looks like they're going 4 games, but I think some of these tournaments, the warm-up counts as a game, so they might be doing a 5-game rotation today with the balls.
15 love.
And we're really seeing, especially from Sven, the velocity in which he hits his overheads with just accentuates the spin that then happens off the screen. Typically, under dry conditions, the ball slows down in some capacity off the deck before it gets to the screen and might minimize some of that aggressive spin that we're seeing. But right now, that thing is just shooting off the screen, making it really tough for Garcia-Nieto to make digs over there on the ad side. It's just playing pinball.
They lead the first set, 5 games to love.
And that break gives us a nice little chance to talk about one of our main sponsors of the year, Volley. 30-day free trial with Volley. What's stopping you? Get 30 friends together and dive into a full month of elite training completely free. It's that easy. Ready to level up your game? Head over to getvolley.com/myclub and start your 30-day free trial today.
So we have Rafael Coutinho serving here. It's interesting, the last few points that Benkaim and Burus have won, it almost made Garcia-Nieto and Coutinho look like, they weren't reading it, they weren't picking it up. And I think what typically happens is you have to make a different decision on what's going to happen to that ball when it hits the screen. And I think it's forcing Coutinho, those last 2 points that he lost, it's forcing him to sort of make a different decision to try and get a path line off the deck, which is not typically what you would do when somebody unloads on that type of offensive shot. But it's probably not the worst idea, right? They're trying to get their feel for what is going to happen with the ball. And you can tell it's sort of causing a little bit of confusion of what's the best play.
Right. And typically, right, it's always a lot of small factors that combine into a big difference, right? So not only, to your point, Steve, is that ball behaving differently off the screen, but when you don't trust your footing as much either, all of a sudden now you're trying to make a dig off of a more difficult shot than you are accustomed to, while also not trusting the footing underneath you. And when you combine those things, it can make for a very, let's call it unpleasant baseline experience when you have Sven Burus and Russell Benkaim cutting overheads.
Game, Coutinho, Garcia. Benkaim Burus leads 5-1, first set.
So, John, it's interesting. I was listening to one of our paddle podcasts this week. I think it was the Inside the Wires podcast. So Nobu, Eric West were hosting, and they brought in one of our colleagues, Brad Easterbrook. And they talked a little bit about the Boston rainy match between, West and Frazier. I guess it was against probably Powers and Nunez.
Yeah,
right?
Nunez
was that this? Yeah. So they were talking about rainy paddle, and it was sort of interesting. Brad's take was that people don't play in the rain like they used to. Rain is something you have to learn how to deal with. The conditions are different. We're seeing a very unique set of circumstances today. But a lot of times, I know in our league in Baltimore, people don't want to get hurt. They don't want to lose footing. They tend to play less and less in the rain, or only play when they have to. But in these tournaments, you have to play, right? If it's playable, you're going to play. So it could be a case where, depending on how long Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto have been in the game, they may not have a lot of experience. This could be a fairly unique set of conditions where I think I mentioned Benkaim last year in the Steel City had an absolute downpour during one of his matches with Chris Humphreys. So, you mentioned the Jersey Classic as well. So this is potentially where someone like Benkaim just feels a little more comfortable and he's going to be able to dictate.
30-15.
And this is where, too, I wish I had a little bit more of an experience of how Rafael Coutinho and Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto like to play. Because if you intrinsically like to play a slower, lob-based, maybe more defensive game, that unfortunately just does not suit itself to the rain when you are playing guys like Russell and Sven, who, if they want to, can play almost at a mini tennis level speed. So you're right, not only is it a different beast when you're playing in it, but there are definitely different skill sets that play better or worse in those environments.
40-30.
I say that from experience.
Yeah, really nice looking backhand there, just missed from Russell Benkaim.
Advantage Benkaim Burus.
And we're already seeing, Steve, it looks like Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto are starting to implement a bit about what you were saying of maybe let's start to take a few more of these balls off the deck. Whether that's going to be a drive or a lob, it seems to be the point kind of gets away from them once they let that ball get to the screen. But if they're able to keep it from the screen, it's a much more even playing field. And we're seeing a lot more blocks right now.
percentage, Benkaim Burus. Deuce.
So you mentioned, John, the best serve in paddle is a serve that allows you to get in and, hit a comfortable first volley. We mentioned this is not Russell's typical serve. It's probably the right serve maybe in these conditions, but you can tell he's having a little bit of difficult finding his range.
Deuce.
And I think that is why that's a good serve on a day like today. That ball absolutely just hit and sort of skidded into the paddle of Garcia-Nieto.
Benkaim Burus.
All right, we have either our first or second set point here for Benkaim Burus to take the first set of this year's quarterfinal at the Steel City Classic. It looks like Russell's about to put some magic on the ball.
Game Benkaim Burus. They win the first set. 6-1.
And we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by Joho.
With the steam? Yeah.
At Volley, we build tools to unlock your potential. The new Volley PTI feature breaks down your game like never before. Ever wondered, which partner has impacted my PTI the most? What's our win percentage as the favorite or underdog? Do I perform differently in 2 or 3 set matches? Now, it's all at your fingertips. The PTI tool is free to everyone. Download the Volley app today and level up your game. We'll see you on the court.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're here at the Fox Chapel Racquet Club in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with this men's quarterfinal match between Russell Benkaim and Sven Burus, and Rafael Coutinho against Garcia-Nieto on the near side. So, John, we talked a lot about the weather. We talked a lot about what that means to the pace and the cadence of a paddle match or a paddle point. What's your take? What are you seeing so far?
So far, they're playing kind of like we talked about, Steve, at the beginning. It looks like they are going to play more aggressive because the risk reward is in the favor of doing so. So far, that first set was 6-1 Benkaim Burus because they had the greater appetite to take some calculated risks. I think we can count on one hand, Steve, the amount of push overheads that we've seen Benkaim and Burus hit at the net. Once they get up there, they are going to work hitting aggressive slash overheads. And that ball has been hydroplaning and shooting off the screens, making it really difficult for Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto, not just to even get the ball back, but then have any semblance of feeling like they are on even footing in this game. And we have seen, like we just saw there from Sven Burus, maybe Burus Benkaim are missing, let's call it 10, 20% more shots than they normally would. But again, going back to that math, they feel like it works in their best interest to keep the pace of play going quickly. And they feel like the more dynamic it is, the more it is in their favor.
You can really hear, John. Yeah, really hear the feet. There's a lot of shuffling going on. I've seen a couple of cases where the footings slipped a little bit. So this is, as much as figuring out how to play the ball, being able to be balanced and plant your feet or not plant your feet, everything's just a little bit different. But you can really hear these players trying to struggle for footing.
And even though that was a fast first set, Steve, if you are just tuning in, we have serving Rafael Coutinho with his partner Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto in the blue on the near side. On the far side, on the deuce side, is Russell Benkaim and his partner Sven Burus over on the ad side. And in case you're trying to figure out who's calling this match, I am John Kilmer, along with Steve Sullivan, bringing you action live from the Fox Chapel Racquet Club.
Benkaim Burus won the first, 6-1.
Yeah, quick first set. The points have extended a little more as we've worked our way into the match. It's still a challenge of getting deep into the 20, 30, 40 ball rally because, as you said, the risk reward says if you get an overhead, if you get a volley that you can really dictate a little more spin, slash volley, and slash overhead, it is really difficult to keep these points going.
Hey, it's the steam. I mean, you got to switch sides for a reason, so I can't do anything about the steam. Unless you want to turn the heaters off, but I'm not sure I'd recommend that either.
So, John, you have experience at Fox Chapel. Yeah, this is also a little bit of a unique situation when you're trying to keep the court as dry as possible. These heaters produce smoke, right?
They do. This feels like the exact conditions where, I don't know, maybe a year or 2 years ago, my friend Cam Cohen and I were playing some pickup sets against Dan Hirsch and Tyler Noland, and the court was exactly like this. When we were on the far side, you are just fighting through the steam to try to not only see the ball, but your opponents on the other side. And Mike Yahimski had a nice little line there. That's why we switch sides, guys. So it will be a challenge for those on the far side to not just fight, the elements, but also the lack of visibility.
Well,
That's
sorry,
a
not
nasty
sorry,
cut
not
overhead.
sorry. Sorry, not sorry. That is absolute dead overhead by Sven Burus.
Game, Benkaim Burus. They lead 2-0. Second set. It's a new
And
ball,
obviously, new ball coming in. You like to see Garcia-Nieto and Coutinho talking, slowing it
guys. I
down.
got a new ball for you.
The match has moved super fast, and I think they're both just a little bit. My suspicion is they're a little bit new to wet, rainy paddle. People don't always choose to play in it anymore, but in the tournaments, you got to sort of, lace up and go out and keep the tournament moving if you can play. So nice to see him talking. I don't know that it's a massive change in strategy. They have to figure out how to get more balls in the court and, take some chances on figuring out what to do. Let it hit the screen, hit it off the deck. But no time like the present to figure out how to grind.
And I like that phrase, foot fault. Well, it does not seem like Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto loves that, but I like that phrase, though, Steve, that you were saying, take a chance. On days like today, no matter what you do, you're kind of taking a chance, whether that be lobbing or whether that be going a little bit more aggressive with your decision making. It really comes down to you and your partner being on the same page over what risks you guys want to deploy. And that comes from having conversations with your partner in real time.
I kind of have to. Don't be sorry, I kind of have to.
Yeah, Mike.
They lead 3-0. Second set.
Mike Yahimski, classmate of mine at Providence College, good class of '94. Really interesting. He sort of apologized to Garcia-Nieto there, and I think his explanation was just had to call it, right? So I didn't see it. I wasn't really paying attention. There's a lot else going on the court, but Mike's one of the best we have, leading the umpires staff, doing a lot of training and development, and he is certainly the best of the best that we have. So, good explanation there by Mike, and certainly feels for him, but it is what it is.
Love 15.
That felt like the longest point of the day, Steve, and simultaneously it was still action-packed.
15-all.
Interestingly, it seemed sort of pretty routine, that last shot by Sven Burus. We talked about putting a little more action on the ball, but the other thing he did there was he went right at Coutinho and makes it really nice move there by Garcia-Nieto, but it makes it really difficult because, just like, some of those big swinging volleys we see, the first thing you have to do is get out of the way of the ball, and it makes the opponent play it. So not only is it a good, heavy cutter, but he put it right on Rafael's sort of hip and made him, take a bad risk.
Game, Coutinho, Garcia. Benkaim Burus lead 3-1, second set.
And right there, I just don't
15.
quite understand the logic behind hitting push overheads right now when you're at the net in the rain, where you have been on the receiving end of seeing how difficult it is to handle those spins. And they haven't been making too many of the volleys, to be frank with you, when they are hitting these pushes. So strategy that maybe I'm a little bit confused about, but we'll see if it changes here in the second set.
15-30.
Yeah, it's so opposite to potentially how they typically settle in and play, how they
Correct.
dig in a point, how they settle into a point, both mentally and sort of tactically. So it seems like there's a number of things like deploying that push overhead that are just sort of confusing these two today. And that's right, that type of ball, there's absolutely nothing you can do. Garcia-Nieto sort of played it, positioned himself the right way, and the ball just absolutely deaded on the screen.
Game Benkaim Burus, they lead 4-1, second set. Benkaim Burus won the first, 6-1.
Corient is excited to partner with the APTA because whether as advisors to our members or as members themselves, they are already a part of the APTA community. Learn more at www.corient.com, the official wealth sponsor of the APTA. Feel like they would be big fans of all the risk management that we're talking about today, Steve?
It's interesting. So there's Sven Burus serving, and I don't know about you, but it's sort of interesting. The one person who's in complete control, very slowly sort of just putting the ball on the court, shortened up his strokes, is Sven Burus. Might have the most experience playing in the rain, obviously a seasoned veteran of our sport, but he's playing very simple paddle, right? He's hit a couple big ground strokes, but he's hit a lot of really simple, slow ground strokes to put the ball back on the court. So yeah, really nice to see, and obviously really big serve. He's got a big swing, a big cut, and movement on his serve there.
Yeah, and as they say, there's absolutely no substitute for experience. And not only has he been around the blocks, as you mentioned, Steve, but I think it was in 2021, him and his partner, Mick Ardoya, played in the finals against Durant Mitchell in just an absolute downpour in Jersey. I think it was both Sven and Steven Mitchell that were having a difficult time even just getting their serve into the court. So it's those kind of matches where maybe you don't play the way that you wanted to, that the drive home, you're like, okay, next time it's raining, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z different. And we're definitely seeing that today.
15 low. all.
And Gonzalo Garcia-Nieto in the blue is serving with partner Rafael Coutinho. They are down 1-5 in the second set against Sven Burus and Russell Benkaim. And if my memory is correct, Steve, I believe last year Russell won the Steel City Classic with Chris Humphreys. So looking to make that back-to-back this year with a different partner.
Yeah, Russell's one of those guys who is probably the most dynamic in different partners, different weeks. He's played a few with a couple people. Actually played with Chris Humphreys this year again, like their win here last year. So yeah, him playing with Sven Burus this week, not so different. He's moved around a lot. He hasn't quite settled in with a ride or die, so to speak, every week, but certainly one of the growing talents in our game.
And these
there's
forehands,
Sven. Yep.
And I really like that because let's just say you're a club player watching this who has an amazing backhand, maybe not as good as Sven's, but you like your backhand more than your forehand. On rainy days like today, maybe lobbing doesn't behoove you as much as driving. That doesn't mean you have to go for a shot you don't have, as Sven was doing, just dinking that ball over.
6-1, 6-1.
So yeah, good play in very difficult conditions. John, we saw a really quick match. Benkaim Burus move on to the semifinals. We kind of talked our way through it. I think Coutinho and Garcia-Nieto worked their way through it. Probably a pretty new experience for them. But any last comments on the match?
No, that was rainy conditions. Really good point there for Steve, for all of you watching back home. It's always fun to play on, nice cloudy days, but maybe once or twice a year, get out there in the rain.
There you go. So that is a wrap for us with this men's quarterfinals. Stay tuned, 3 o'clock on the APTA YouTube channel. We are coming back with the women's quarterfinals. So yeah, that's a wrap. John, join it.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Want to see how volley can transform training at your club? We've got a great offer for you. Gather 30 of your club friends and you'll get a free 30-day trial of volley. Experience firsthand how volley's trainer can help everyone improve. Increase reps and track your progress, all while training smarter. Don't miss out. Visit getvolley.com and unlock your club's full potential with a 30-day free trial.
Who is the player with the best serve?
Best serve. We're going to go Tyler Frazier.
Best serve, Fraser.
Sven Burus.
Well, I just had to deal with Sven Burus, so he's definitely up there.
Player with the best cutter?
Guillermo Nunez or Johan Durant. My partner, Eric West. Tyler Frazier, without a doubt. Dan Hansen.
Guillermo Nunez. I gotta say Dan Hansen's is just filthy.
Best roller?
Either Alvi or Jose.
I'm gonna pick my own boy Russell Benkaim on that one.
Johan Durant. Jose Salazar.
Jose Salazar.
Myself.
Best drive?
Alvi Regalado.
Jose Salazar.
Mark Powers.
I like runs in there.
Mike Wagner, backhand. Johan, forehand. Best drive, Johan Durant.
Best blitz?
Philippe Rams.
Philippe.
Alvi.
Johan Durant.
Probably Guille or McNerney.
Guille. Guillermo Nunez.
Me.
Best volley?
Durant. Johan.
Alvi.
Guillermo Nunez.
Guillermo Nunez.
Guillermo Nunez.
Powers. I think it's one of the best on all of them. Mark Powers' volley is unbelievable. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good of a volley he is.
Best overhead?
Guille.
I mean, we got to go with Guy Nunez on that one. Powers. Juan Araya.
Tyler Frazier. Johan Durant. Durant.
And best competitor?
Adam Morgan. Adam Morgan.
Me.
Mark Powers.
I think I'm going to give that one to Guy Nunez too.
Alvi.
I'm going to put myself on that one.
Hi everyone, Eric West here, originally from Toronto, Canada, but currently residing in Cincinnati, Ohio. I saw these courts in the distance and thought, what in the world are those? There's a Thursday night league in Cincinnati. I got my college coach to sign me up and haven't looked back since. Playing this upcoming season with Tyler Frazier, off to a great start. We had a good week in Baltimore, so far going great here in Chicago. We have a full season lined up, so looking forward to battling out with my fellow Cincinnatian.
What would you say is your strength as a team?
Ooh, just going lefty-righty, just being able to attack the full court, just working together and figure out what the strategy is for the day. I'd say winning the Cincinnati League team championships with my old club, Hyde Park Country Club. Driving the ball, forehand, backhand, off the deck, screen drive, you name it, I love to drive it.
When you're not playing paddle, what are you doing?
Getting outside as much as possible. Golfing, hiking, swimming, biking, You name it outside, I like to do it. I'm Eric West, this is the APTA Tour.
Hi, I'm Mike Yahimski. I'm the National Chairman of the Umpires Committee for the APTA. So I started umpiring back, it was maybe 5 years ago. There was a local tournament at my home club at Indian Trail Club, and they needed umpires. And I put my hand up to volunteer for that tournament, and here I am, running the APTA umpires. So becoming an umpire is easy. I'll send you a bunch of materials that you read through, including the rules. There's a special handbook that basically walks you through the entire process to make sure that you're successful up in the chair from day one. There's a 15-question multiple choice certification exam. Super simple for the most part. If you play paddle, you'll pass it right away. And then I'll put you in, when you pass, I'll put you in touch with the regional captain, and they'll get you up in the chair at the next tournament. An ideal candidate is, obviously, you have to love paddle. And then someone who, has confidence. If you want to make a call, you got to stick to it. You got to be confident. And someone who doesn't mind being a little cold up there sometimes, or a little wet. But anybody really who wants to give back to the APTA and the game of paddle, becoming an umpire is truly the perfect opportunity. My name again, Mike Yahimski. I'm the National Chairman of the APTA Umpires Committee. If you're interested in becoming an umpire, reach out to me and I'll give you all the information you need.
So my name is Tim McAvoy. I have been a part of the Philadelphia paddle community probably going back to the 70s with my mother, who was instrumental in bringing the sport of platform tennis to Philadelphia back in the late 60s and early 70s. Lucy McAvoy, who's a Hall of Fame member in her own right. She was a tremendous ambassador for the sport. She's the one who brought platform tennis to the Philadelphia area back in the late 60s with a number of her friends. So she was all about growing the game. She introduced the game and grew the game. And for me, a natural progression, it's probably in my DNA. I've been playing competitive paddle tennis since I moved back to the area in 1982. It is unbelievable, having played through the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, to watch the athleticism of this sport, and that's the word that comes to mind. It is so much more athletic now. You've got the tennis pros coming out, and probably if you looked at the top 15 teams, they're probably all tennis professionals, or 95% of them are. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was regular working people, men and women, that played the sport, and now the pros have taken over, and it is such a faster game, much more athletic. And as most of you know, if you're looking for a successful platform tennis program anywhere in the country, you have to have a pro or a champion that helps grow the game, promote the game, and teach the game. My two favorite words for this sport are competition and camaraderie. And for me, it doesn't get much better than that in any sport. And I believe all of us are blessed to have both available to us in platform tennis if we choose to embrace it. For me, this sport is so different than tennis because I grew up playing tennis, played tennis at Penn State. The difference is the camaraderie off the court, right? Tennis and paddle tennis both have the competition on the court. But when you're able to have that camaraderie off, where you and your opponent have a cocktail, have a drink, hang out after the match, which happens universally throughout our sport, that separates us, in my mind, from tennis in a big way.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.